Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, the Too Opinionated podcast could really use your help. And it's easy, it's free. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, imdb.com, named us a top 100 podcast. We came in at number 82. That's a big deal because there's 15 million podcasts and growing. So to be named to anybody's top 100 list, pretty big deal for us. And the way you can help is to go to imdb.com, look up the Too Opinionated podcast, and that's it. Just bringing our page up. That traffic really helps us out. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. All we ask is that you subscribe. It's also free, but that really helps us to attract these amazing guests that we keep bringing on the program. And that's it. 2 easy ways for you to support us, and we would really appreciate the help. Now let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I am so excited today. I've got singer Measha Brueggergosman-Lee with me. So welcome, Measha. How'd I do? That's a mouthful.
I know, and you made it sound super normal. I'm grateful.
That's a terrific entertainment name, I think.
It's very operatic, so turns out I have the right job
That's
because
right.
turns out I'm an opera singer.
You
So
know, if you told me the name and then told me what you did for a living, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
that tracks. That tracks. Complicated name, sort of. You want to fit in. I wanted an umlaut, but that was too much because the Bru of
Oh,
Brueggergosman, the UE, that's actually the English anglicized translation of the umlaut. A little
oh,
insider knowledge.
okay, all right. Now, I think it's a very unique name. I think it's terrific.
Well, I'll tell you, my maiden name is Gosman.
Yeah.
I'm Mrs. Gosman, born Gosman. My first husband is Brugger, Swiss. He was the hot Swiss exchange student when I was in high school. We were married for 20 years, had
Very
two
nice.
incredible babies. We're not married anymore, but the Lee is my husband. And I kept the Brugger Gosman because our sons are Brugger Gosman. And I didn't want them to be the only Brugger Gosmans in the entire world. So
Love
we're
that.
Brugger Gosman Lee. So I,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
love that.
yeah, So around town, I can be Misha Lee, but like officially, when it goes down in the history books, I will always be connected to my two boys.
See, good for you. That I love that. My ex-wife, so my kid's mother, was a Lee.
No
That was
way.
her maiden name was Lee.
Lee.
Lee. Yeah.
Shoot. She didn't come from Cape Breton at all, did she?
No, no. Pretty sure it was more of like English, Wales, somewhere in that area.
So not New Scotland, but like via West Virginia. She still has time to come up.
That's right. Although Lee is kind of like Wall, not a it's not a very unique name. Lots of Lees out there, lots of Walls out there.
Yeah, true
Ruger
that.
Gosman though, unique.
Right? You'd have to know who you were talking about. That is a
Right.
Jeopardy question.
He really is.
And I have been a crossword answer before, and you're like, 13 letters, eh? Shoot, that could only be one person.
What would you do? Like if you played sports for a living, you'd need 2 jerseys just
That's
to
true.
get the full name on there. Maybe you could have it run down the side
We have, and I'm not
like
sure
a.
if this reference will make sense, but our Grammys are called Junos,
Oh
and we have
yeah,
this called the Juno Cup, and I played in their Juno Cup. Oh wait, come on, baby, come on, camera. This is my husband, Stephen.
oh well,
This is
hello sir.
Hey, my man. How
Billy
are you?
Kruger guy. You know why he's my husband? For that,
It's
babe.
quite the
This is my husband.
it's quite the background you
It is
have.
recording.
We were
Yeah.
just talking about that.
Well, there you go.
It is
Oh, I see. See now,
right.
see, I do that with my wife because she
That's
takes
right.
a lot of Zoom calls. I'm always refilling her wine.
We might as well get the whole family in here.
Oh, well,
There's the
hello
youngest.
there.
Okay, get out. I love you. Bye.
I'm
Bye.
like,
Mama's working. Mama's
Nice,
working.
nice to almost meet you. Take care, son.
what? Nice to meet you, sir. I'm a little jealous of the
We're
hair.
on the clock, but I promise that I am enjoying it for the both of us.
That's right. Yes, please do.
Thank you, honey.
What kind of wine are you drinking? What's your favorite?
This is a Spanish Rioja,
Oh,
and I think it's 2019. If my husband gets the one that I don't want to say collect, but it's like we usually just get it by it's organic, and that way
oh
there's
yeah.
tannins, and it's sort of a nice sippy thing because I well, if we're getting real, I only allow myself so much because I want to remain productive.
That's right. That's right.
But I also want to remain grateful. So I sort of always have it around the same time every day. And then I can sort of still get on with it, so to
That's
speak.
right.
I mean, like, nobody's going to bed because
Well,
they're still,
in Europe, they
yeah.
drink wine like water.
And I didn't grow up that way. I grew up in a completely dry house, and I had to figure out that drinking alcohol is not directly correlated with going to hell.
That's right.
Oh,
Moderation.
exactly. And I sort of believe in that, and I believe we have to have sort of faith advocates who understand the balance of what we're given in the earth versus what has been perverted by culture.
That's
So
right.
I'm always looking very closely at that balance, if that makes sense.
It does.
Not to be too facetious about it, but I always like to make religious Christians mad. So when my sister is like,
Not
oh,
to be facetious, though.
know what I mean? Sometimes judgy Christians need to be taken several seats.
Yeah.
So it's my beautiful dad ran a dry house. Like that was really important because
Yeah.
he did not have moderation in the house that he grew up in. So it was really important that he teach that to us. But
Yes.
it was like you're just going to make sure that the pendulum doesn't swing too far into legalism and keep an eye on that.
I kind of love that. I kind of love it. I mean, everything is fine in moderation.
Right? Except for loving Jesus. That's got to be over the top.
Now, my wife, she's a cab drinker, so she likes a Cabernet. She likes it, the drier the better.
The drier, the better. And I am convinced now of the California output. Like, I am convinced, and not that anybody needs to convince me that's a wine tradition that is world famous and well established, but I was sort of like in my early wine exposure because I didn't have my first alcoholic drink till I was 23. And
No.
so when I came on board, I was like, ooh, tell me more about this. What even is this? Highlands, lowlands. And then I got into wine and the pairings, and so I really view it as an art form. And the cab sauves from California, like I will accept an engagement if it gets paid in wine, especially in California.
I
There's an
like that.
incredible festival there called the Festival del Sole in the Napa Valley.
Yeah.
And I will get myself coated in Calistoga mud with a cab sauve and just go to town. That's my idea of a good time.
I know we've talked about going to that festival several times, and at some point we'll make it, but we haven't made it yet.
I pray it's always there because I always need a re-up.
All right, so Measha, let's start this way because we got a little bit of ground to cover, but talk a little bit about what got you into music. And I know the answer already, but let's hear what got you into music and at what point did you decide to make that a career?
Yes, well, for those falling under the sound of my voice, I started super early.
Yeah.
My parents made it their mandate as shepherds of a certain flock to pinpoint and develop the gifts of their kids. And I'm the third of three, separated by 5 years. So
Oh, you're
in
the
it,
baby.
I'm the baby. And they really did treat us as sort of individuals. We all sort of got our first 5 years. And my brother is a PhD pastor. My sister works in the prison system,
Oh,
rehabilitation.
wow.
She was an international gymnast. She was an athlete. My father was also an athlete. So we were all sort of athletic. I was a speed skater. My brother was able to do any.
Really?
And eventually I would find piano, which would lead to voice, which would eventually be my career. But I would say that everybody in my family is musical. I'm just the only one who does it full time. And I've never had another job. It was never presented to me as risky. It was always my calling, always my purpose. I would joke, I would say pre-COVID that I had no other marketable skills, but COVID taught all of us that we can do hard things.
That's right.
And so now I really embrace the fact that I do the same thing in a multiplicity of ways. And whatever that requires me to do, I love to learn. I've just figured out that I love to learn. And I have just started my third year in a master's of practical theology
Oh,
because I love the Bible. I love
yeah.
being able to dedicate to my faith the same amount of stewardship that I dedicated to my gifting. And I've toured the world as a soloist, as a classical singer, and have now started commissioning new works, one of which is Zombie Blizzard,
That's
which
right.
would match your background. Um,
What
and
made you choose to classical or opera? You know, they're so difficult. What made you choose those to go into it first?
well, frankly, you said it because it's hard, and I love to do hard things, especially when it's presented as a lifelong pursuit. Because classical music continues to kick me in the butt incessantly because it's constant challenge.
Yeah,
It's a historical art form that continues to evolve, and it's hard to find something that reaches so far back, but that continues to be relevant
very true.
or continues to seek its relevance, right? Because it exists on the fringes of our current modern society, and yet it is what remains of any society simply because of the longevity of publication. If you can publish a work and speak the international language of what a score says, then that score can live forever. And I love being a part of a tradition that had singers singing the repertoire that I am now singing hundreds of years ago.
A great way to look at it.
And I just love it. And so obviously you can see that there's a natural transplantation to biblical studies because there's no greater book.
That's right.
And I'd spent so much time studying this creative output of a bunch of dead white guys. And I thought maybe it's time to really do a deep dive into the scholastic approach to the King
Yeah.
of Kings and Lord of Lords. Don't get me wrong. I do now know that a great way to lose your faith is to go to seminary, but you can also reinforce it if you're maintaining a mindset of, intimacy with Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've really enjoyed the pursuit of excellence as it pertains to classical music and my voice. But now I understand, after the career that God has blessed me with, that we're meant to now reach back to create repertoire that allows us to also reach forward.
Yeah, I love that. That whole explanation was terrific. I really like that. So
Michael.
we just got back from Pittsburgh, which I know you're familiar with the Pittsburgh area, from a concert, and we listened to your music the entire car ride back, so about 3.5 hours. And your voice, my goodness, that just blows you away.
Oh, thank
It's just
you.
unbelievable. I don't know how you hit some of the notes that you hit. I don't know how you carry some of the notes for so long, but it's just an amazing voice. It's terrific.
Appreciate that. I have such a fascination with Singing, I wrote a memoir when I was 38. I know that sounds crazy, but
Something is always on fire.
that is exactly right. Oh, bless your heart. And I described myself as a capital S singer, like coming out of the womb. And as soon as you reach home, home for me was expressing myself through singing. I've definitely got a healthy sense of fear when it comes to going on stage. It doesn't manifest as anxiety, but it is excitement that I'm about to hold people's good times in my hands as the souls that belong to the bums in the seats are waiting there expectant, and I am what stands between them and peace, what is the communicator of joy, what allows them to suspend disbelief and lay their burdens down. I take that responsibility extremely seriously, and I think the human voice is capable more than most instruments of allowing that to happen.
I completely agree with that because music, it can bring you back to a moment in time. It can freeze you in a moment. It can do so much, and it really is. It's even if you're not actively singing, just listening to someone sing, it can feel like you're a piece of the music, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, if they're doing it right.
If they're doing it right, that's right. Which, by the way, my wife loved the your jazz album.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
she
my
yeah she really enjoyed that one.
that blesses me. It's important, as you would know, to continue taking crazy risks.
Yeah,
I think when I was at the Banff Center for Arts and Creativity, which is where Measha Jazz was recorded, it
yeah,
was born out of me having come there to sing for their annual fundraiser in exchange for recording studio time. So,
seems like a fair deal.
well, in this new barter for services economy,
Yeah,
I am way more interested in fruitful experiences than I am in being paid monetarily because I can't take it with me.
that's right.
So I was like, okay, I would like airfare and accommodation for 5 of my musicians of my choosing.
Yeah,
We'll play for the fundraiser, but then we get to stay for 2 weeks after and create. Just put the recording technicians in the booth and we'll go in the studio. And that's how Measha Jazz was born.
I love that. That good for you. That's a good idea.
I mean, I had come up in recordings that were really no fun. So much pressure, time is money,
Mhm.
the orchestra is unionized. And I thought getting on a major record label, being able to record at like Abbey Road Studios would have meant that I would have made it. And to I mean, that was true, but the experience was not what I had hoped for.
Yeah,
And then and when I say what I would have hoped for, I would have wanted to have felt less stress. I would have wanted to have been less vocally tired. I would have wanted to have been less protective of my instrument so that the recording comes out sounding like it could stand shoulder to shoulder with the greats that I myself had come to
yeah,
revere through their recordings. So it was a time of building. It wasn't a time of basking. Do you know what I
right.
mean? It
Yeah,
was hard, hard work, and it was well worth it. And it was for a certain season of my career. But now I want to do what I want to do with the people I want to do it with. And my later recordings, as perfect as my earlier recordings are, the one that your wife loves sounds like freedom because it is.
yeah, yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. I totally get that because you're creating. You're out there, creating what is, feels right to you. You're
Well,
making your own music out there. I
that's
love
it.
that.
And as somebody who produces with his own son, you know that you want to be surrounded by people that you love, that you would be spending
100%.
anyway, that you're looking for excuses to bring them all into the same room and have them relax and be themselves. Like the musicians on Measha Jazz or on Zombie Blizzard or on Laureate, they're all there because they choose to be. I may have made it happen. I may have been the traffic cop bringing all of these people together, executive producing these projects, but I'm only asking them to come and be their best selves. And I'm trying to create the environment for them to do that so that they, in turn, create an environment for other people in that way. Because
Well,
Measha
yeah.
did it. It's like,
Well, and if they're not comfortable, they're not going to be at their best.
am I right? Like,
Yeah.
that's true. If they want beer, give them beer. If they want weed, give them weed. If they want a 4-course meal, if you want to sit down and have a retreat, cook together, eat together, create community together, that's going to all show up in the music.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Was Laureate, was that one came out this summer?
This year, I am actually on 7 albums, the number of completion. And
Really? That seems crazy high.
I can name them for you. The first one that came out was Known to Dreamers, which
Right.
is
Yep. We listened to that one a little bit.
right. And I'm the right out of the gate. The whole album isn't me, but the Confession Stone is a cycle of song by Fleming, who is an American composer, and the poetry is by a Black Canadian composer. And this album was released by the Canadian Art Song Project to feature the Black Canadian composers. Now, as you heard, the composer is American and the poet is Canadian, which means that the repertoire to choose from is thin.
Right. Yeah.
Canadians and spearheaded by the Canadian Art Song Project, they are doing their best to up the ante when it comes to Black representation composition. So good on them. So I sang.
Well, you have to start somewhere.
You have to start. You have to start and not stop until there is representation that is commensurate with the populace.
Yes.
Otherwise, what are we doing but regurgitating old tropes and reinforcing?
Well, and it only helps it helps everybody. When the more diverse you are, the more exposure you have to different cultures and different music. It only helps all of us.
Exactly. Because there are so many perspectives that we have access to as North Americans, but in the classical realm, we have a sort of unspoken anxiety when it comes to performing our own creations. Because we stand shoulder to shoulder with people like Beethoven and Mozart, we think, oh, we'll just throw on some token piece by a composer who's in the audience to seem relevant, but we're coming into an era where we realize that our continent is old enough to actually have a say, to actually have its own voice. This continent created jazz. This continent rebirthed the traditional spiritual. Like this continent is very sophisticated in its ability to compose new works for orchestra.
That's right.
And the more we embrace that, the more composers we commission, the more weirdo orchestrations and instrumentations we come up with, the more we're putting our stamp on music history and culture itself. So I think that's very important. And, the reason I was so keen on releasing so many recordings in this particular year is because I was receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award in classical.
I know. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, it's very rare for any of us to get a lifetime achievement of anything. So yeah, good for you. I mean, that's what you've been working your whole life for. You should be rewarded for that.
Well, and at 46, and I turned since 47 since receiving it, I am happy to say the youngest recipient ever.
Oh, well, that even makes it better.
I mean, I was like, are you giving me a hint?
So
I
what
don't
happens? What if the second half of your life is even better than the first? Do they give you another one?
think that is what is promised to me. My best days are ahead. And I am so humbled by the fact that the Governor General, which is our Kennedy Center honors,
Right.
essentially. So the Governor General of Canada awards these prizes. You
It's a
can't
big
apply,
deal.
you can't try for them. There's no way to, sort of wedge yourself in. Somebody
You
else has
can't campaign for them to try to get them.
a campaign, you can't pay to get them. I mean, it is a shock when the phone call comes and I'm like checking the number and it says government of Canada. And I'm like, well, I paid my taxes, so I'm going to answer this.
That's right.
And and so as soon as they called me to let me know of this outlandishly humbling honor, I just got to work on everything that I had started but had yet to complete. So that people would have something to look at in terms of the future, as opposed to, doing a rehash of all of the things that God has blessed me to accomplish. I just felt it was important to make a commentary on what I believe classical music has the potential to do in the here and the now. Hence all of the recordings. Zombie Blizzard was a huge part of that
Well, yeah,
because
talk to me a little bit about that because I'm nerdy, so that got my attention as soon as I saw zombies. So I was like, okay, all right, that sounds
oh,
like something I'd be interested in. But
hello.
what is Zombie Blizzard? Explain that.
Zombie Blizzard is a cycle of 7 concert arias
Okay.
to poetry of Margaret Atwood, composed by Aaron Davis for 10-piece brass ensemble. On the recording, it's the Hannaford Brass.
Oh, nice.
Dance trio made up of George Kohler, Mark Mariash, and Aaron Davis, who is also the composer as a pianist. For soprano, Measha Brueggergosman-Lee. And you heard it, so you understand that it's an amalgam of what comprises North American
Yeah.
aesthetic when it comes to just composition. And Aaron Davis is this intersectionality of he was born in America, parents were draft dodgers who went to Canada, freedom fighters. His dad was in prison for his right to free speech. They're both in glory now, but Natalie, his mom, was a French historian. His dad's a mathematician poet. That's all gone into this
That's
Aaron.
right.
And he and I have together co-produced and co-music directed about half a dozen albums. But he had yet
Amazing.
to write a song cycle. And I want to give this man as many opportunities to create as I possibly can, because he's a genius. And I benefit greatly from his prolific creativity. And so he creates this song cycle, and the 7 poems are taken from Margaret's poetry collection called Dearly.
Love
And in
that. Yeah, which is fairly new, right? Like that was
is
written a few years ago.
exactly, she wrote it. The poems were sort of compiled around the death of her beautiful husband, Graham, who I
Okay.
had known, and I sort of came into her life near the last 10 years of Graham's life.
Yeah.
And so I had known their love. I had breakfasted with them. I had been to their home. Slowly but surely, I insinuated my way into Margaret. No, and in to give you the full tea of Zombie Blizzard, I had in COVID produced a series of concerts called the Measha series. The
Yes.
Measha series were 5 concerts, 5 different Meashas. I've come to grips and become very comfortable with the fact that my brand is called Unity. I'm incredibly versatile as a singer. So you have Measha in gospel, Measha in song, classical song, Measha in jazz, Measha in folk, and then the final installment. And we had run out of money. There was COVID. We didn't know if we were going to have ticket sales. We didn't know if it was going to be a hybrid concert. We didn't know if the theaters were going to be open. The point is, when we came to Measha in Dance, I had to executive produce a video that we would then broadcast, I decided, on International Women's Day.
Oh,
And I asked Peggy if she would recite poetry from Dearly. And I went through the collection and picked different, very female-driven narratives. And she recited them. And then Measha in Dance would become Tamar Ilana as a flamenco dancer, Lisa Kuznetsova, classical Russian dance,
yeah.
ballet. We had an erotic female double bass player, Nachmed Faraman, an incredible dash player, this percussionist,
Love that.
and Paula Arciniega, a fellow mezzo soprano, but like a hardcore visual artist. The laureate album that you see, the 2 LPs, they are picture discs that feature Paula Arciniega's art. So all 5 of these incredible women, with Margaret at home reciting her poetry, is Measha in Dance. Then I was like,
Wow.
okay, well, Margaret's reciting her poetry, but it should be set to music because she wrote poems for a song cycle for Josh Hopkins, the incredible Canadian bass baritone Josh Hopkins.
Yeah.
And those poems are also in Dearly. They're called Songs for Murdered Sisters because his sister had been murdered.
Oh,
And so
wow.
Margaret writes this song cycle. Jake Heggie, our wonderful American composer of Dead Man Walking, which I've sung worldwide many times,
Yeah.
he wrote this music for that song cycle. So I knew she had precedent for having her songs, her poems set in song form.
Right.
It's like, let's see if we can take the Dearly poems, change nothing, and have them set to music. And enter Aaron Davis. And he is looking at the poems that I've sent him. I've sent him maybe a collection of 20 or so poems. And I'm like, let's pick from these. But let's keep in mind, let's pick our poems in the company of Schumann's Frauenliebe und Leben. Frauenliebe und Leben is Schumann's song cycle, which is songs on the love and the life of a woman. And the poetry is by Chamisso, but it goes through her meeting her love, seeing her love, seit ich ihn gesehen, and then him putting a ring, du Ring an meinem Finger, and then it goes to the final death of her husband, nun hast du mir den ersten Schmerz getan. You've hurt me for the very first time, and it was his death. And so I'm saying, Aaron, let's pick these poems in the company of this iconic song cycle,
Yeah.
use selections from Dearly. And that's how you got Zombie Blizzard. By the way, Zombie, first song in the cycle from a poem called Zombie. Yes. And Blizzard, second song in the cycle from a poem named Blizzard. So the song cycle is called Zombie Blizzard.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. We came by it honestly, but
Well, so is this one out yet, or is it coming out?
it came out on the same day as the cycles from the Canadian Art Song Project. It came out on the same day as Known to Dreamers.
Amazing.
And then we fast forward to Laureate, which is my double album, which is also a record, a beautiful, beautiful record, literally and figuratively, but it is a record that is designed, the jacket is designed by Pierre Tabner, and I put it out as a double LP album because I wanted a piece of art. I wanted to make a piece of art, and you know that there's nothing like a record. We're returning to this tradition of records.
I know it's pretty great that we're going back to it.
Don't you love it? Like
I
we
do.
have all of our music on these little tiny, you know, nothing things that would fit in our bras, and now
Yep.
we need something to look at. We're desperate to see and hold and feel, especially after we came through what we came through over
That's
the
right.
past. And so I wanted to make this thing, and it's called Laureate because I became a laureate of the Governor General's Performing Arts Awards. And it is as an offering of gratitude, it's not going to make any money, Michael.
You never know.
I would love for it to get a Grammy, and anybody voting, I submitted it for the packaging. I submitted it for
You got
best
my vote.
jazz alternative, zombie blizzards in there. I have no PR. It will be the grace of God that gets me that Grammy nomination because there's no major label. You know what it's like. You know, when you self-produce, when you are,
It's hard.
it's hard, but my time is my own, and I have stopped looking for results and have started focused on legacy. I have started focusing on making sure there's something left behind for my sons to be able to prove that mama made things and you can too.
I love that. I love that. And that's a great way to look at it. You know, focus on the work and not the audience necessarily. And I think the audience will come. You know, if you put it out there, they'll show up. But if you focus just on them, you worry about that all the time, you're just going to be miserable. And it's probably the work's going to suffer.
And I don't work for man. I just don't work for this culture. I work to shift it, to change it, to comment on it, to tell the truth
Yeah.
about how blessed I've been to live in the house I live in, that I don't deserve, can't afford, but that keeps somehow getting provided for. Like, I am too grateful to stop making things, if that makes any
It
sense.
does. Yeah.
If I get to reflect in some small way how abundantly I've been blessed, and if if people keep taking my phone calls, keep answering my emails, I'm going to keep making stuff.
Well, yeah. Why wouldn't you?
I mean, I don't really know how else to go about it. And you'll find me, crying on my husband's chest saying, I just can't stop making things. Like I think God gives me these things and he's going to provide an avenue for them. Abraham and that whole hall of faith in Hebrews, none of them got what was promised, but they died in hope. I live in hope. I'll die in hope. I know it's a superpower. I just want to maximize what gifts I've been given and make work for people who have not been as blessed as me, who are just waiting for the phone to ring so that they can pay for diapers or get more peanut butter. I don't know. Keeping guns from temples and razor blades from wrists is our job. It's never
Right.
been more urgent for people to make beautiful things and to tell the truth.
Yeah, I love that whole sentiment, and it's so true. I think that's so true. We need creatives right now.
Yeah.
You know, we spent too long almost working against, creation and making new things, and we need that. We need people to, whatever the art form is, get it out there.
Get it out there. We thought we could live without it. We can't.
No, we cannot. We cannot. So you're performing Zombie Blizzard live a few times?
Come on now, Michael. Thank you for the leading question. We make the American debut of Zombie Blizzard at National Sawdust in Brooklyn on October 28th.
Amazing.
And I pray it sells out. I pray people come. I pray that we get to experience the magic of that hall. I love Vision into Arts, National Sawdust, Beth Morrison projects, Paola Prestini, the whole hive mind of this new collective of composers and producers who are making new things and respecting a tradition while also challenging its borders to be more inclusive, more risky, more than the sum of we've been told it can be. Do you know what I mean?
That's
Like,
right.
oh, you told me that it can only look this way. Well, challenge accepted. That's exactly what National Sawdust has been doing. And this is their 10th anniversary season. And I could not be more honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
That happens on the 28th of October in Brooklyn. And we follow that up by a Halloween performance of Zombie Blizzard in Halifax, Nova Scotia at the
Ooh,
Carleton.
how
Oh
fun is
my
that?
goodness. Now, can I just speak to the humility of spirit when it comes to not really being able to sell tickets for 165 people? But my people will rally. They will come out
They'll
and
come out.
we'll add more shows. I prophesy. And this is a beautiful, intimate venue. And that's where we will perform Zombie Blizzard in trio incarnation as a jazz trio.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's going to be awesome. On the other half of that concert, we'll be performing selections from Laureate, which is this multi-genre. There are rappers, there are beats, there are live percussion, there is a whole host of unifying versatility. It's a good time.
It
And I
sounds like a good time.
think it's going to be a lot of fun. I know it's fun. I've been involved every step of the way. So, as an eyewitness, I can tell you if you have as much fun as I'm having, accomplished. The last concert that happens in November is in a very special location called the Church Brewery in Wolfville, Nova Scotia, the gem of the Annapolis Valley, Nova Scotia, about 20 minutes from my house. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a church converted into a brewery. So it's blessed and you can drink. Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't. I don't think there's too many of those locations out there.
I know. And it's run by a wonderful couple, Matt and Ashley Haysom, Matt and Aaron Haysom, and we have conceived of this concert to usher in Nova Scotia Music Week. And Zombie Blizzard is nominated for a Nova Scotia Music Prize. And so we're going to perform it in the community where the awards are happening, in a church that is now a brewery. And I'm flying in about 7 different musicians. Does she have
Wow.
the money? No. Will it be a good time? Yes, it will. And I stand by it. I can't take it with me, Michael.
No,
So
you need to be out there sharing it. I'm thinking maybe I need to take a trip to Brooklyn. Come
I
check it
think
out.
I think I would see you. I would see the light gleaming off your gorgeous head, and I'd be like, Michael David.
Mike's here. You might put some sunglasses on, but I'll be there.
Oh, God is good. It is such a crazy season. And like you said, we do need more art.
We do, 100%.
There's no such thing. It's a mirror. It's a mirror. And these poems, as set by Aaron Davis, are so powerful. And the poetry, you hear Margaret recite her poetry, and then we sing Aaron's composition of that same poetry. And that's
Yeah,
just,
I was listening to some of it, and I love that part of it because you get to, you get to hear her speaking and then listen to it. And I
yeah,
don't know, it's more impactful that way.
more because I don't know about you, but I go to a concert and I'm sort of like, oh, is it surtitles? Is it subtitles? Am I looking in the program? When somebody recites the poetry, recites the text that I'm about to hear,
Yeah.
I relax more. I relax more and
Yeah.
I can really enjoy it. My husband's come in, but we're in such a good discussion. He doesn't even have to give me a refill. Hi, Steve. We are having a great time. My husband was like, sounds like you're having fun.
Well, we try.
It is such a wonderful program. I did listen to a few of your interviews, and it is
Oh, thank you.
it is so I don't want to say refreshing because I don't want to like hate on journalism, but it is not as common as I would hope for journalists to be so informed. I,
Agree.
I think that doesn't insult anyone.
We've gotten away from it's part of the reason we're having trouble trusting journalism right now is because we've gotten away from like the Walter Cronkites and the the ones where you were expecting them to tell you the news, not necessarily their opinion about the news.
Yeah, yeah, that's not what the news I grew up on.
Yeah, me either.
Informative. Have our Canadian Broadcasting Company, right? The CBC. And my father worked for the CBC for 33 years. And to watch it become what it has become for whatever reason
Yeah.
is very discouraging while also being an opportunity, right? Because
That's
you can't
right.
critical of a system without being willing to contribute to its improvement.
Yeah,
So
which is that's the issue most of us have. We're really good at complaining about it. We're not so good at trying to fix it or improve it.
and look at you positively, if I might say, adding to the narrative, because you can say all the things you want and do nothing, and all it makes you look like is a griper and a hater.
That's right.
But if you start your own podcast and start doing your own research and start conducting interviews in a way that has integrity and research and intelligence, all of a sudden you raise the bar and other people will want to do the same. So congratulations. I'm very grateful for that.
That was very nice of you to say. Thank you so much.
You make
I
it
feel
easy.
seen.
I feel seen. My 9-year-old's at the door. I'm like, do you feel seen, baby?
Oh, I meant to ask you, did when you were at the Olympics in Vancouver, did you get to see some speed skating?
Well, I went to figure skating
Oh,
because I love figure skating. And thank you for bringing that up. I have still never watched the video of me singing in the opening ceremonies because my vantage point was so unique.
yeah.
And so my memories are all from my perspective.
Oh, you don't want to mess those up. Yeah, I get that.
Exactly. And I'm elevated like hundreds of feet above the stadium floor. There's tens of thousands of people. It's 2.8 million people worldwide watching. And I'm just there. I mean, to me, that is still the most surreal. Maybe having children would compare to
Yeah.
the surreality of a moment like that, the singularity.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem real.
It does not seem real. And I can still go back and I'm in the wings and I brought everyone. I was like, they offered me like 5 first class tickets to bring my guests with me.
Yeah.
That was part of the package. And I was like, now when you say first class, we could split those and I could bring 10 people instead of 5. And they were like, yeah, but you still only get 3 hotel rooms. And I was like, done.
Yeah. Three's plenty.
I was like, 3. I was like, 3. I will take it. And we slept, like I brought my best friend, my neighbor, my mother, father, brother. I brought like people that I was like, do you want to come? Because it is going to be off the chain and there's no other time that this is ever going to happen. Like we had the best time.
Amazing.
The next time that that kind of a rally sort of happened where I was like, I need to be surrounded by people I love, or this means nothing, was the Governor General's Awards this past year. And there I bought a block of 25 tickets for my friends.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Oh, I was like, what do you mean I'm going by myself? No, Holy Spirit, we need to make sure everybody who didn't or wouldn't or might think that they'd not earned access. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like spaces are rare air, and I want to share them with the people I love.
Yeah. And you should. See, I totally get that. Plus, it doesn't hurt having friendly faces out in the audience.
It doesn't hurt. It is the sum of what life, I think, is supposed to mean. Like,
Yeah.
why would we given all this success and think it was mine. It's only by God's grace that A, I'm still alive, B, I have any kind of career at all, and C, I have lots to share. There's too much. It's all threatening to become about me unless I share it, and nobody's life should be about them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Good for you. I love your perspective just on life, not just on music, but on life. Because I think that's if we were all more like that, be a better place.
Well, that's what we're aiming for. Like we're on our way to better. That's why when you give somebody a Lifetime Achievement Award at 46, you're just telling her to keep going. That's what
right.
I was like, okay, best days are ahead. Let's put the chapter away and then keep our heads down, blinders up, and keep working. Because people are watching. Like, I got little tiny eyes who wonder how to make a life.
Well, that's right. Yeah, you're paying it forward and setting the example so that they can, choose their own path at some point.
And we're all I sort of hear in my mind, inspired by greater things, this obsession that we have with family systems and unlocking what happened prior to us so that we might break the back of demons, tear down strongholds, not repeat the historical wrongs that were performed on us, against us. But there's also generational blessings that you want to repeat. There's also things that you do not want to dispense with. Do not throw the baby of intimacy with your parents out with the bathwater of maybe prior addiction. Do not forget that we're salt, that if we aren't flavoring the world, we're being flavored by it.
Oh, I may steal that one.
You can. That just came to me in a flash. Please write a song.
That was a good one. You need to put that in something, a book or a song or something. That was pretty good.
But it is this greater calling that if we get too myopic in thinking that our friend group has to vote like we do, think like we do, then we never expand our minds. And that's really what we're here to do, is just to make sure we remain in an expansive space, not tight and rigid. I have this tattoo on my arm. I'll show it to you. Now it says rooted, established, strong, immovable, and determined.
Oh, I love that.
Now, never does it say rigid and inflexible. This is about making sure that the roots of your system of belief that is in something greater than yourself run just as deep as the branches that grow out of the earth, of your childhood, of your gifting, all of these things that create the branches off of the tree of our lives. They're offshoots of where the roots are planted.
Yeah.
So if my children don't know who they are, and in our household, it's who they are in Christ, then they're going to let themselves be defined by something else.
That's right.
It's just not as, so when I talk about this tattoo, it relates to this tattoo. Oh, I just came from a CT, so I've still got my CT bandit.
Got your little badge of honor there.
Self-control, wisdom.
Yeah, wisdom, laughter,
truth,
and forgiveness.
So I feel
that
this way about these things.
I love that.
So you have to have a two-handed approach, is what I say.
You got your little cheat sheet on your arms.
Absolutely. And they're written so that I can read them right side up. Like they're not.
Yeah, you thought ahead. That was good.
I'm like, what am I again? Okay.
Well, Measha, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time with us. I hope that we can do this again at some point. You have to, the next big thing, you got to come back and tell me about that too.
I will. And it will be the book I'm currently writing.
Oh, I love that you write. I know you did the memoir. Have you written other books?
It's called The Reason, and this really bit my bonnet. That's not even an expression, but it is now. You can write that down. I just knew that I was meant to take this semester off from my master's in practical theology to write a book. And the book that I was going to write is not the book that God gave me inspiration to write, which required not an insignificant amount of mourning, because it turns out that all the ideas for the book that I'm going to write are the follow-up to Something Is Always on Fire. But this time it'll be Something Is Always on Fire in Jesus.
Oh, yeah, of course.
What happened since the publication of Something Is Always on Fire is that I just came to know how life is pretty worthless without him.
Yeah.
And that he sends all the fires he lights.
Well, why wouldn't you want to share that?
I know, because someone out there is laboring under the false assumption that God is not with them, or that their life is on fire through a fault of their own. And it may have been that they did things to cause their life to be a flaming dumpster fire.
Right.
But God can use a flaming dumpster fire if you give it to him.
Well, and we've all been there at some point in our lives. We've all been.
Oh my goodness. You're talking to former Cheaty from Cheathausen. You think my marriage ended because I did nothing wrong? Shoot. And I do want to offer the hope that I walk in. That's very important to me.
Yeah. Well, it's inspirational just hearing you talk about it.
So I'll come back if you'll have me.
I will. 100%.
I will continue to pray
anytime
in her wonderful job. And I pray that our paths cross in Brooklyn.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, I'm going to check that. I'll be talking to the boss. We'll see if we can work that out.
Yes. And we're there a significant amount beforehand. So dinner is not off the table.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
I'm actually going to be in New York week after next, going up to see some actors friends, and we're going to see Hamilton.
Okay. You tell me dates, and we will see if we're there by then.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think we're going out on the 17th, so it'll be after that.
Okay. We arrive on the 22nd.
Okay. Well, I may still be there, so I'll let you know.
It's a deal.
That sounds great. Yeah. I'm always up for a good dinner.
Oh, stop. Listen, you can pay me. I think I mentioned how I'm happy to be paid in wine. Dinner is not an exception.
Yeah.
Like, you go someplace good. Oh, that's my jam.
Yeah. Somewhere it's got good wine, good food, we'll be there.
Good. I pray it works out.
So, okay. So, Measha, before I let you go, where can we find you on social media? Do you have a website? If we want to know more, where can we find you?
I'm at Measha.com, MEASHA.com.
I know. How'd you get that?
Midday, and then my 9-year-old, come say bye. You want to come say bye?
We can't end without you.
We can't end without you. This is Sterling Marcus, my 9-year-old.
Oh, I like Sterling. That's a good name.
Ready, baby? You say bye. We're ending the podcast with Mr. Michael. Oh, we got the other one. 2 legs, 2 boys. Come on over, baby.
Oh, you got, okay.
This is my Shepherd Peter. Shepherd Peter Brueggergosman.
Let's see what we got here.
Hey,
all right.
Right? Thank you so much for your time.
You're so welcome. This has been a real pleasure. Really enjoyed it. So once my son gets everything ready, we'll shoot it over, but it'll probably be next week.
Okay, next week. That sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Hey. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Measha Brueggergosman-Lee, which is kind of fun to say. So I won't lie. I had to practice a little bit before we get on. Those of you that have watched the podcast for a while know I struggle with names. So I practiced that one a little bit, but it's kind of fun to say. That one, I didn't have too much trouble pronouncing that, which, with this accent it can be a challenge at times. So hope you enjoyed that. Measha is unbelievably talented. Her voice is amazing. If you've never listened to her, look her up right now and kind of pick anything you want. They all sound so good, but definitely check that out. If you happen to be in New York on the on the 28th, Brooklyn, Measha will be there. So definitely check her out. Zombie Blizzard, which we had the best time listening to that. I love the listening to the poetry, and then you hear the music. Unbelievable. It's so good. I meant to mention they had Canada's Got Talent back in 2012, and Measha was one of the judges, and they stopped it after 1 year, and then a couple years ago they brought it back with that. But I wanted to ask her about that experience, because we know America's Got Talent is such a popular show here, so I was curious how it does in Canada. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Just had the best time. Everything that you find out about Measha is incredible. It's amazing. The longer you talk to her, the more you're going to like her. She's just unbelievable. I hope that we get to have her back. I hope we get to have dinner in New York, but I also hope we get to have her back on the show. If we have a chance to meet up in New York, I'll make sure to let you guys know. I'll clue you in on that one. If you're finding us for the first time, thank you for being here. We're so happy to have you with us. We've been doing this show for 6 years this coming January. Today, I put out episode 854. So we've been pretty active, and it's because we love it. My son and I, we love to do this. Brett is a librarian, children's librarian during the day, and then he works on the podcast at night. This is my full-time gig. Absolutely love it. Best thing I've ever done. If you'd like to support us, easy to do. It's free. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Please subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. Really helps us out. Our website is meistercon.com. If we're doing something in studio, if we're going on location, like to Brooklyn, if we're covering a convention, anything we have going on will be on the website, meistercon.com. It'll also give you access to all 854 episodes and counting, audio and video versions. So please check us out there. Thank you guys so much. Till next time. Bye, everybody.